Welcome to one of the strangest Jojo games of all time, and I put Jojo games in heavy quotations. This is the beta release for One More Time 3, a game that was recommended to me by another creator on the platform. They said, and I quote, "You might want to try this out. It's right up your alley. The PvP is so good, it's YBA PvP. Absolute brilliance." So, I read the description of the game. Pretty simple. One More Time 3 is a universal but mostly focused on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game. Fair enough. So, what exactly are we looking at here? And why is it so strange? Well, yeah, just look at this. Are there stands? No. There's a bunch of guys in big hats running around with bats. That rhymes, huh? So basically the impression that I get from One More Time 3 is a game that's like desperately trying to avoid copyright, so it doesn't want to use visual references to the source material, but it's so well done that I refuse to believe it's that. And so I'm just like coming up empty as to what this could possibly be, how this could possibly happen, and I really hope that the people behind this game see this video and leave a comment, because I am so morbidly curious. It is off the charts. Basically, instead of having stands, you have hats. The hat is the stand, and it's not as if these hats are inspired by the stands. No, they just flat out are the stands. At the moment of recording, there aren't very many stands, at least that I could tell. The only ones that I saw were one that was based off of The World, one that was based off of Magician's Red, and then two other ones that I have no clue what they were based on, but I'm gonna have to assume that they have nothing to do with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So to try to explain it better, basically if you get the World hat, you have the world as a stand. But instead of having a stand, it's a hat. And the entire moveset is the world, but without the stand. I'm sorry, that's probably so confusing. And now you're as confused as I am, because I don't know what the fuck's going on here. And so hearing all of that, you probably immediately jump to the conclusion that I would, that, oh, it's a meme game. It's like an inside joke. Somebody had a funny idea once in a Discord call. They were like, hey, you know what would be funny? Is if we made a JoJo's game, but instead of stands, you had big ass hats. And they were like, yeah, that'd be funny. Why don't we put that together? But that inside joke got taken way too far. And now you have like a legitimately pretty well made and not horrible feeling to play game that's held back now by the fact that it's so weird. In a way, it almost feels like this game in of itself is a tragedy, because in their attempt to basically create a meme game, they've ruined what otherwise probably could have been an actually interesting and fun game based on the source material. I'm sure it won't be the same for most, but for me, this whole hat concept totally butchers the entire vibe of the game. If I'm playing a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game, I want to play a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure game. I don't care if it has other abilities in it, but I want to be able to use the abilities and stands from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, not put on a hat that then has the moveset of the JoJo stands, but just makes me look like a weirdo wearing a big hat. And I know that sounds like a nitpick, and I'm sure it is, but I can't really speak to you in anything other than how I feel about it. As I said earlier, objectively speaking, the game is pretty well made. The animations are really good, the sound effects have some problems, especially when it comes to the distances that you hear things. It seems like there's no audio fade-in, so there were several moments where I could literally see someone maybe 10 feet away attacking someone, and I couldn't hear anything, and then you walk 3 steps forward and it's as loud as if you're standing right next to them. But that's one of those things that's not enough to just like completely ruin a game. The visual effects are good, the cutscenes, at least the ones that I've seen, are good, the time stop effect is pretty cool, the starter NPC is kind of a lot to take in at once, but it does explain all of the things that you would need to know for the most part in the game, with one of the most comprehensive tutorials in one of these games that I've probably ever played. Which again, is all a real goddamn shame, because it's tied to Hat Game! Why would you do all this work for Hat Game? Developers, what the fuck? Now, admittedly, there are some other small issues when it came to the game, one of which was the rarity drop rates for the stands, hats, what the hell? I don't know what to call them. The hats. We'll just call them the hats. We're going with that. The rarity spawn rates for those seemed pretty abysmal. I rolled a lot of them and never once got the world hat, and considering that there's only 4 hats in the game right now, the fact that I could roll a bunch of them and never get 1 out of 4 is pretty terrifying, and the more they add, the more that's going to get worse and worse and worse. There's the fact that basically nobody is playing the game, which I don't know. I guess it's a bit of a shame since it's a well-made game, but also I would imagine that a lot of people logging in would have the same problems that I did, so I don't know. As of right now, I think it had like 40 people playing it when I logged on. The 1v1 leaderboards are absolutely barren, with maybe only 10 people being on there, which makes sense on a game that doesn't have very many people playing on it. And when it came to rebinding keys, you can rebind them, but you need to use commands in the chat, and that's just so unbelievably awkward, and it's a damn shame that you're not able to just do that on some sort of menu. I also noticed that when you pose in order to get your health back, the keybind by default is H, which just struck me as odd. It's not the end of the world. But the thing that is pretty annoying is the fact that there's music tied to the posing, so every time that you need to regenerate your health, it plays music, which is kind of a fun novelty the first few times, but after a while it's just like, okay, I've heard the same 5 seconds of this song over and over and over again every single time I go to pose. That's kind of annoying. There was also something I noticed when it came to quests. There's a lot of timers when it comes to quests. I think I understand why these are there, because they don't want you to just repeat the same quests over and over again in order to get a whole bunch of stuff. But at the end of the day, it almost just felt like playing a mobile game rather than playing a real game when I did a quest, and in order to do it again, I have to wait an hour or wait 2 minutes. Like, what is making me wait 2 minutes realistically going to change here? Not a whole lot. I can't do much in 2 minutes, so I'm probably either just going to sit here or not do the quest again. So, oh well. There's a crafting and accessories system where if you craft stuff, you can give yourself some stat bonuses. These are the kind of accessory systems that I just am personally not a huge fan of. I really like TCA's accessory system because all of the accessories make a pretty large impact on gameplay, and there's not like a boatload of them. So you don't feel like you have to constantly track all of the different body parts that you have and all of the minor little stat bonuses. And I know there are people who like those systems, so I won't knock it too much, but for me personally, I would prefer less complicated accessory systems where the stat bonuses or whatever they have are more impactful. As for the combat, that was supposedly the big draw here, and I mean, it seemed pretty alright. I don't really have too many complaints. M1s aren't true, so you won't get stun simulated, so obviously that's nice. The AI did seem at least remotely competent, but also relatively easy to abuse, as they usually blocked at the exact same time every time you went to attack, so you could just fish for block breaks and bada boom bada bam, there you go, free combo. But really, at the end of the day, when it comes to combat, there's not a whole lot that I can say about it, mostly stemming from the fact that I've talked about these combat systems so many times before. And the person who recommended the game to me in the first place said it best. It's pretty much just YBA combat. Most of you guys have played that, so I don't really need to tell you what it's like. Is it good? Yeah. Is it good enough to carry an entire game by itself? Absolutely not, no. As for other things that were on my mind, it seemed like the game was trying to do a lot, but not outwardly exceeding expectations in any of the areas that it tried at. So like, for example, on the map, there was a gang capture territory where gangs can take control of an area. Clearly, you had to program this in and people put some time and effort into it, but it's just sort of here, sitting on the side of the map. I only ever saw one of them. I don't know if there's any more. And I just don't really know why it exists, I guess. Maybe I'm missing something here. But it feels like one of those things where it could be an interesting concept, but because it's not really fleshed out whatsoever and no one's interacting with it, it's just sort of there, and the development time almost feels wasted. At the end of the day, though, the hat game where you run around with bats and beat the crap out of people is kind of surface level at best. Which in fairness makes sense considering that they're announcing themselves as a beta, and considering how few abilities are currently in the game, it sort of makes sense. But it also consistently makes me sort of shake my head and just have to wonder, why did they have to take what otherwise would have been a good base for a game and turn it into hat with baseball bats game? I really don't know, and I'm very much hoping I get the answer to that. Naturally, if you want to give this game a shot, I'm going to be linking it in the description, so it'll be down there if you want to try it out. I can say that at the very least, I can give it a recommend from the fact that it's a relatively well-made game and probably better than a lot of the schlock on Roblox, but I can't promise you that it's going to entertain you or hold your attention for long, because, as I said already, it certainly didn't for me. With that though, I'm pretty much wrapping up here. I don't think there's a whole lot else for me to say, and really honestly, I don't think there was a whole lot for me to say in the first place. So as always, if you enjoyed the video, then you can go ahead and leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't do those things. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.